Today we welcome Nadav Goren, Deputy Head of Mission. Is that the right
Yes.
title? Yes.
Yes, thank you.
To talk about the Israel-United Arab Emirates deal that was announced yesterday. We are very happy to hear about it, and we would like to know more about is it a peace agreement, and what does it mean for Israel?
So first of all, let me say I'm very, very happy and excited, like many Israelis in Israel and diplomats around the world, because first of all, it's a big win for diplomacy over conflict. And it's definitely, a historical agreement. It is an agreement that is agreed upon and will be signed formally in the upcoming weeks in Washington, D.C. So that's the plan. And but definitely it's a big milestone, after our peace agreement with Egypt in 1979, which was a huge thing, and then the peace agreement with Jordan in 1994. This is the third country that we're going to sign a formal peace agreement with. And so I think it's a historic and dramatic in the way that it really will advance both security and stability across the region. So it's important on the bilateral level, but also for the whole region. It sends a really strong symbol for other Arab countries as well. And I think that both Israel and the United Arab Emirates had courage and are sending a message that they are putting the disagreements behind them and caring about the well-being of their citizens and of the next generation. So yeah, definitely it's very exciting. And practically, if you're asking what it means, basically it means that once we have the agreement formally signed in Washington, we will start talking about concrete steps to enhance the bilateral relations. So it will be opening embassies. So if I learn Arabic, I can go serve in Abu Dhabi, direct flights, other bilateral agreements, whether it's agriculture, trade, tourism, the sky's the limit. So I think that's kind of the source of the excitement.
And what does it mean for Israel?
I think for Israel, it's first of all, the United Arab Emirates is a strong country in the region. It has a strong economy. It's very advanced. So on that level, it can help, Israel, have great collaboration in the region. As far as security, it can also help because we can also collaborate in the areas of security. And as we all know, and maybe we'll talk about it a bit later, we have shared threats, the United Arab Emirates and Israel. And so collaboration in that arena would be very useful for Israel. And thirdly, and we can also talk about that in detail, but it is a stepping stone towards more regional integration. And so it kind of can set off the balance. And so that's what we're hoping. And definitely we'll have to see how it plays out.
And when did the negotiations start, and who started them?
So I think, definitely, there was a lot of things behind the scenes. I think as is public knowledge, and definitely we can't go into all the details because there was a reason they were behind the scenes. But it wasn't one side or the other. And I think that's what brought this agreement. It was an agreement and collaboration that was based on mutual interest and mutual benefit. And I think this is the right place to stress just one of the things, but Iran as a regional security threat, which has proxies all over the Middle East and the world. According to its commitments of United Nations resolutions and others, is a concrete threat to both countries. And so I think that this is one of the reasons that this collaboration, also behind the scenes and also now in front of the scenes, materialize. And if you look at the UAE, it's exciting because they had to, if you look at their vantage point, not at the Israeli vantage point, they had to keep a delicate balance, because they have relations with Iran, and they didn't want to upset them, they didn't want to provoke them, and And so they dealt with Israel maybe more behind the scenes. But now it's sending a very clear message to Iran of the United Arab Emirates. We're not afraid. And on the contrary, please don't threat our security interests, because now we have a strong ally like Israel on our side. So I think that just to sum it up, it's not who, it wasn't based on who exactly started it, but it was both mutual interests, both countries.
But who is maybe the diplomat behind the mastermind?
Yeah, no, that's a good question. But I think that, you know, generally the way Israel works, there's not one big commander that leads everything. Definitely, I think Benjamin Netanyahu gets a lot of credit for orchestrating this for many months. But it's whole teams, and it's the different agencies that worked on this.
And why was the deal made with the United Arab Emirates and not with Saudi Arabia or Qatar, that have better relations with the US?
I mean, first of all, I think what you're saying is correct. You know, the how close the country in the Middle East is to the US is one component, but it's not the only component. So when you look as why this deal was struck with the United Arab Emirates, you have to look at a few different things. First of all, you have to look at the leadership in the three countries. Okay, who's the leader? Who had the ability and the courage and the chutzpah to make a move like this? Another thing that you have to look about is the relationship, the bilateral relationship. So it's not enough that the United Arab Emirates had a good relationship with the United States. It matters the relationship between the United States and Israel, and it matters the relationship between Israel and the United Arab Emirates. So it's kind of a triangle that you have to look at all of it as one holistic idea. And the last thing I would say that you have to look at is timing, right? A lot of things happen because they're in the right timing, in the right set of circumstances. And I think this is a good example of a window of opportunities, all kinds of, and there's endless circumstances, but everything happened in a certain timing. And that also helped this historic agreement come out now.
But the timing is also the coronavirus crisis. Right.
And I think that, you know, who knows how that helped. Maybe there were more discussions online. Maybe there were more video calls. But also one of the collaborations we're talking about in that respect is working together to find solutions to coronavirus, including vaccines. And that is something concrete that we plan to work together with the United Arab Emirates.
The Emirates is a country that never went into conflicts or wars with Israel, the same as Bahrain or Oman, who also seem to want to strike a deal. What happens with Syria, Iraq, or Lebanon? Do you think Israel will look for an opportunity towards these countries?
I mean, firstly, I would say, and I think that this agreement strengthens the message that we say and we truly believe in, is that our hands are out for peace. Okay, we want to. That is our dream, and we're willing to sacrifice for that. That being said, when you look at the dynamic of the Middle East today, you see that all the countries, the different degrees that you described, are influenced by one very negative actor in the Middle East, and that is Iran. And so Iran, while it you know, is breaking all its international commitments of the Atomic Energy Agency, of the UN, is supporting terror, is supporting Hezbollah in Lebanon, in Syria, and its main message is we don't believe in the existence of Israel. The distance between striking a peace deal with those countries which are so heavily influenced by Iran is much farther. So I hope, but I do have to be realistic and say that the distance is farther.
And talking about terrorists, what will happen to some terrorists that found refuge in the Emirates, like Mohammed Dahlan?
So, I mean, that's a good question, and definitely, you know, where you make peace with, not with your best friends, right? We have a lot of disagreements with also the United Emirates and with other countries, and I think, you know, when you come into an issue like terrorists or terrorist activity in a country that you're in diplomatic relations with, there's two things you have to keep in mind. First of all, something that is very strong in Mexico actually is you don't intervene in the internal matters of another country. Mexico, goes by that foreign policy idea in everything that they do, and also Israel will not go into internal matters of United Arab Emirates. But at the same time, I think that having diplomatic relations with the United Arab Emirates is an opportunity to tackle issues like you mentioned, security issues. If there's a matter of terrorism that disturbs Israel, that's happening, with involvement of the UAE, then now we have a diplomatic relations. We have a more direct dialogue of how to solve that and discuss it and say, okay, let's cooperate to see how we solve this problem. So I think that problems like you said, terrorism that have that, or terrorists that have sought refuge in the UAE. Now that we will have a diplomatic relations, we'll have more creative and more ways to solve these issues than before.
And Nadav, will Prime Minister Netanyahu give up his plans of annexation in Judea and Samaria?
So first of all, part of this agreement is that Israel has suspended the extension of sovereignty in Judea and Samaria. The way I think we view it, and the way the Palestinians, I believe, should view it, is as an opportunity as well. Okay, we are now at a stage where we can go back to the negotiation tables immediately and start talking again on the basis of the United States Trump peace initiative. So we're saying that's the basis, and we can start talking. And I think that yes. So just to answer quickly, or to answer just to your question, yes, it has been suspended, and to be in the wider context, I think this is an opportunity to get back to the negotiation table with the Palestinians.
So you think these negotiations are going to? This is a good step for the negotiation.
Definitely, I think
because the Palestinians were not very happy about the deal.
Yes, about which deal? About the current deal or the Trump deal?
No, the Emirates deal.
Emirate deal.
And also the Trump deal.
Yeah. Look, I think
Israel agrees about the Trump deal completely.
Look, I think that no, definitely not. But we see it as a basis which encompasses our main aspects, or our main things that are important for us: our security, our national interest. And but like everything, we need to sit down and discuss this with the Palestinians. And the Palestinians, hopefully, they will change their ways of not wanting to discuss and not wanting to talk. And I think this, like this deal sends a message, a strong message to Iran, like we talked before. This deal also sends a message to the Palestinians that they can't continue, forever to not talk and not discuss and not negotiate and try to get the solution coming from the outside. The solution has to be going to the negotiating table, talking, and the current deal that is on the table is the Trump deal. So yeah, I think that the Palestinian leadership would be smart if they took this as an opportunity to go back to the negotiating table.
Do you think this will be the start of a domino effect with the whole region, with the Arab countries? Who will come next?
So yeah, I'm optimistic by nature. So I do believe that other Gulf countries, Bahrain, Oman, Qatar, Saudi Arabia, Kuwait, would be interested to follow the Emirates' lead. And for one thing, two things, I guess. One thing, this deal sends a message of regional integration, about the power of regional integration. And even in the release of the three leaders, they talked a lot about the regional aspects, about having a regional mechanism, expanding ties with different countries in the Muslim world. So first of all, it's a very strong message. And second of all, you have to, you can think of concrete interests, right? Now that we have this agreement, what I mentioned before, we're going to have concrete cooperation in technology, in security, in agriculture. I believe that these other Gulf countries won't want to stay behind. They won't want to see that the United Arab Emirates, profiting financially, trade, security, and put together with the shared regional security threat. I think they have a lot of reason to follow suit. Once again, like we said before, why this was struck, there's all kinds of things. There's timing, there's leadership, and there's all kinds of things that can change. But as I said, I'm optimistic, and I believe that they will, some of them at least, follow suit.
And what was the reaction in Mexico about this deal? What did you receive as reaction?
It just happened now, so we're still kind of waiting to see the different reactions. Definitely, of course, like expected, there was a lot of movement and reactions and buzz in the press and in the public sphere. And we hope that all the different actors will embrace this agreement and understand the historic and diplomatic significance of it.
The foreign ministry, did they send any applause, any congratulations?
not that I know of to this date, but it's still very early. So, yeah.
Yes, I'm sure everybody will be happy. Well, thank you very much.
Of course, thank you.
Thank you, Nadav.